not going to like who your opponent is.
I was brought up on the mean streets of New York City where I had to work and fight for everything that I got. Victory Road, New York knockout.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of On the Mic with Mike. I'm your host, Mike Larkin, and joining me today for round two, it has been a while. She is the NYC Knockout, Miss Stephanie Finocchio, better known to professional wrestling fans as Trinity. Trinity, it's a pleasure and privilege. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I cannot complain. First and foremost, like we were talking about before we got on the show, Happy New Year, everybody. And my goodness gracious, we are in 2022. 2022 is here.
2022. Happy New Year to everybody. Definitely wishing everyone a healthy, happy, prosperous New Year.
Absolutely. And first and foremost, I think it's amazing just because we're in the year 2022, and what we're going to be talking about today is very timeless, and it's a classic because we have reached the 17-year anniversary of yourself versus the one and only Miss Jacqueline Moore from Victory Road 2004, the first ever TNA Live 3-hour pay-per-view. How nuts is that?
Wow. I can't believe it. Amazing.
It's one of those things where I had to talk about you with this today, and I just rewatched the match last night, and I have some notes. Like, for you, I have to ask you, because it's November 7th, it's 2004, it's the first 3-hour live pay-per-view for Victory Road. At the time, TNA was doing the weekly Wednesday pay-per-views. I remember it as it was yesterday, $9.95 on pay-per-view, $10. And now here we are, we're the big time, it's 3 hours. How did that feel for everybody in the locker room at that time, and yourself debuting on 3-hour pay-per-view?
Wow. Yeah, it was amazing. We were all so thrilled and excited. And, everyone wanted to get in on it. I was so excited that, I had an awesome match and was included on it. I was fighting for it. I'm like, I want it. And, everyone's lining up. So it was amazing. We were making big, feats back then with TNA. So it was, definitely rewarding, and, we've come a long way. So it was awesome.
Look at it from a stance as well. Like, I mean, who you're paired with at the time. I mean, we're talking about the NYC connection here. It is Glenn Gilberti, better known as Disco Inferno. Johnny Swinger, who's still doing his thing in Impact right now, is the Swing Man. Very 80s retro gimmick. It's hilarious for those who've not seen it. It's amazing. And you had Big Vito at the time, Vito LaGrasso. I remember the feud with your guys and Simon Diamond, Irish Pat Kenny. Now, how was it to have that veteran, like from WCW, ECW, respectively, combined? And then here you are, a homegrown talent in TNA at the time. How was it working with those gentlemen?
Oh, well, definitely Swinger was my mentor, and he was very, great to work with. And yeah, and Disco also. They were so great to me. They treated me great. They would show me the ropes, and we had a great New York connection. It really was good. And we loved that gimmick, and we loved where it was going. We would have liked it to go way longer, and there was so much more to do, but it was awesome. We were having a lot of fun. And yeah, Vito was like in and out. Like, unfortunately, I remember it, but he just like kind of came in and out. Really, it was doing his thing. So, it wasn't like a big meshing thing there with him and I, but, still great. I love learning from everybody and, getting to work with, all these different people. So it's always an honor and a privilege. So I was always just like constantly pitching myself like, this is awesome. And, because I got to do a lot of different things there, which was amazing.
I think also around this time, what's very cool, and a lot of people talk about the golden age of professional wrestling. Everybody talks about the 80s, the rock and wrestling connection. We had Cyndi Lauper, Roddy Piper, Captain Lou Albano. It's one of those things where for this particular time period, we're talking about the early 2000s, people also coincided with like the start of like the golden age of independent professional wrestling. Now, speaking as myself, I'm a fellow New Yorker from Long Island, New York. I remember the NWA cyberspace going to Jersey, Billy Firehawk, Jersey All Pro Wrestling. The Northeast was the hotbed for the independent wrestling scene. And then boom, WWE is the only game in town. WCW's done. NWA TNA starts. So you guys were really coming into your stride in the year 2004.
Yeah. Yes. And, again, something very new to me. I didn't even realize, I was a stunt woman for 25 years. So was it really, getting into the wrestling, they like kind of fell into my lap because it was, I was stunt coordinating a movie about independent wrestling, and there was wrestling right in my neighborhood that was like lawsuits, and it was on the news, and I'm like, oh, I want to get that ring. I want to use it for the movies. And then they told me about Mikey Whipwreck and the school on Long Island. And I'm like, I'm going to go there. And like, then, and then, 9/11, all that stuff was good. There was just so much stuff happening at once. And it was like, I then delved into the wrestling and oh my God, I loved it. And it was just then traveling, then learning about all these independents and then just getting, with the people I was training with that we went to an NWA audition in Georgia that got us onto TNA. And I'm like, oh my God, I love this. I don't need to go to WWE. And that was just great. And it was such a great experience and, great opportunities. And I was having so much fun and it was awesome. So they were really coming into them because they were just like taking off and it was, going everywhere. It was great. We did so, from Nashville to Florida to like the pay-per-views and everything. It was, so much going on.
It's interesting because the first time I actually ever came across you, and obviously it was in TNA, and it's funny because it was the year 2004. So my dad is the one who really got me into professional wrestling, and my dad's been a wrestling fan for over 50 years. So boom, comes into my lap. I'm watching professional wrestling. Now, mind you, at the time, all I knew really was WWE. You know that WCW and ECW had a business. WWE is the only game in town. So Jeff Hardy, who had left the WWE a year prior in 2003, he had gotten released, made his debut in TNA in 2004, did the match with AJ Styles on the second anniversary show. So then that got me into more watching TNA. And then I see this Spitfire, this spitball, that being you just friggin' going after the men. You want it. You will not be ignored. You will not be denied, which will take us into the match in a second. And I got to say, that really gravitated me towards like the women's wrestling side of things. Because if you actually look at it, the big thing around this time was Trish and Lita, right? The main event of Monday Night Raw. But then here you are just like, you know what? I'm ready to scrap. Give me an opportunity. And it's like, it's something for everybody, but it was different because everybody loves Trish and Lita. But I'm like, all right, well, who's this? You gravitated.
Yeah. And, and it really helped, having the big stunt person background because, I already come with like, I could be, and I was watching all those women too, because I'm like that, it started getting interesting when they're jumping off the ropes and doing everything. I'm like, that's like stunt work. I'm doing that. I can do this. And, and I just wanted to little Spitfire. Exactly. I can't say that I'm a great actress because it was it's really me. Like I wanted to get in. I wanted to do everything. I wanted to jump off the balconies and go through the tables and do everything. And I wanted to fight everybody. And I just wanted to like work. Cause like same thing with like stunt work. I wanted to do everything. And, you always like everything. You got to wait your turn and wait for things. And, I was always pushing like, let me do it. Let me try it. I'll do it. It's like, let Mikey try it. So, and TNA was great. They were letting me, get into all these opportunities. And yeah, I was pushing and fighting my way in and I wanted to, showcase, and I just wanted to do it. I wanted to have fun. And what a world when I had the best time.
You actually just said it perfectly because you're like, give it to Mikey, he'll eat it. Because that literally was like your whole entire thing. And I mean, there was a movie back in the 90s, in 93, Life with Mikey, Michael J. Fox. You were that kid that will like get in trouble, but, just give it to me. I'll eat it. So, I mean, it's kind of art imitating life, right?
I'll do it. I'll try it. And it was like, that was my life too. It was like, oh, rollerblades, I'll try it. Snowboard, I'll try it. Kiteboard, I'll try it. Jump out of a plane, I'll try it. I would try any. I wanted to do everything. Still do, I think.
But that's what makes you you. And I think that's great to have a variety because people talk about the term jack of all trades. I'm like, so you're kind of like a Jill of all trades, if you will,
Yeah. But, and my dad was like that and he brought me up like that. And yeah, we were, I was fortunate. My dad had a motorcycle shop and he didn't have any sons. I was the second child. So I was the tomboy. And it was like, I was on motocross and jet skis and snowmobiles, and which led me into stunt work and, played every sport, which led me, right into the wrestling, which I think they both are, like stunt shows, wrestling it's a live stunt show, we're throwing our bodies all around. They could be stunt people in their own right.
I got to say, if you were a wrestler back in the 90s, like you were talking about, like just jumping off the ropes, and I'm going to say right now, besides Elix Skipper around this time with the Hurricane run off the cage, fast forward to 2005, that moonsault from Lockdown, the fall from grace, as everybody calls it, and still gets talked about today, is still one of the most beautiful moonsaults I've ever seen off the top of a cage.
Thank you. Elix, we still talk. We're still buds. But yes, and it was the greatest story because like it was never, it wasn't planned to happen at all. I got off the plane, I flew myself in, and Dusty Rhodes was like, "You want to jump off the cage?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know." and it all happened, and what a wonderful moment in memory. And I miss it. I would do it again today. Jump off a cage for sure.
I was going to say, can you give your best Dusty impression? It wasn't like Trinity, baby. What I want you to do is I want you to go up to that top of the cage, and I want you to do that flip and dive off that cage, baby. Something like that.
You did that better. And he was pretty much like, you want to jump off a cage. It wasn't, I like your impression totally. But I was like, you want to jump off the cage? And I'm like, yep. You didn't have to sell it to me. It was like, just, do you want it? Yes.
Well, as the late great Dusty Rhodes said, you got funky like a monkey when you jumped off that cage, Trinity. It was getting funky like a monkey. So yes.
Oh my God, that's great.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, no, that's really was with the highlight reel. And I mean, people talk about Gail Kim because 2 years after you would leave TNA, 2007 was the start of the Knockouts division with Gail Kim and that. And then we got to see, cage matches and more of that. But you, and we're going to talk about this promo, you were the NYC Knockout for sure, real, authentic, and you were the OG Knockout. A lot of people will refer to you as the OG Knockout, Trinity.
I know it. I definitely am a little upset and take it back that they don't consider us, because even Desire, come on, we were fighting. We had the greatest feuds and fights, and still to this day, like wrestling. Yes, I'm not taking anything away from the good fights and feuds and people, but we don't just wrestle. We had feuds that went from years. Like, it was back and forth. It was like, I was a babyface, she was a heel, then it turned, and our feuds were so great, and they went for so long, and it brought everybody else into it. But yeah, what happened? We are the original Knockouts for sure.
Well, it's true.
Way for that little section. I'm like, there was people before us that definitely paved the way. That I'm always so grateful. But yes, we had a part in paving the way for the new. So.
Well, right. And the thing, too, is people talk about when Mickie James returned to TNA. And I use that because a lot of people, it's like, wait a minute, Alexis Lurie, NWA TNA, hello. She was there before. You could consider Mickie James in there, like yourself, Desire. And it is one of the most underrated feuds because you have Sonny Siaki at the time of Desire. You're doing your thing, and it gelled. It worked, and she was great.
I said, I know it was us. We gelled so good. We really wanted, we loved this company. We believed in it. We believed in what we were doing. And maybe a little bit deep down inside, some of those scenes were they were really felt, who was getting put over and who was, winning and losing. And, and who was with who. It really was so authentic, and it was so great and real. And yes, we love that company, and we believed in it, we pushed it, we made it what it was. But yes, the writers and the agents and whoever put it all together, it was just so good for that time. I mean, that was some great shows and great times. I like, when I think back, I just wow.
And it's the perfect protagonist and antagonist mix. She's every woman's desire. You're this yo, bitch, I'm going to take you. I'm going to snap you by your head. Forget about it. And it works.
It just doesn't stop. But the underdog that you kind of wanted back in the day. And then when we switched, it was this perfect heel, because now she had hurt her back and come back. And it was just great stuff. I'm I followed a little bit of wrestling before, and there was stuff that it was they do some things over and over, and it was a little court, when I wasn't a huge fan. But then when I got into it, I'm like, what we did was just, I feel like it was very unique, and it worked great. And just how it was portrayed and how we did, because you didn't really have, even when the fights between me and Kid Cash, we separated. Oh my God, talk about great, how it all just fell into place, and it turned out and worked out, and how the feud just mixed and meshed and moved, and it was such a flow.
When you have a guy like Kid Cash, who has such a veteran in the business as well, he's trained by the great Ricky Morton, what I'm talking about. So when you have that level from Ricky Morton and that toughness and that grit, it makes for great matches. And he doesn't get the credit that he gets, because from ECW to TNA, could be the heel, easily hateable, and he could work. He was so athletic.
Yes, he was great at what he did. And the storylines, when we came together, we were like this ultimate underdog team that were such great baby faces. And the turn worked so great because he was getting irked and jealous and pissed, and people were telling him he couldn't do it. It just all worked so great when they were telling him you can't do it without her, and then he was hating on me, and then how it all culminated to our match. It was just so authentic, that so well written, so well put together, so well performed. And oh my God, it was just everything from the great to the bad. I loved it. And it felt so real to me too, like it was the way it all turned out. Even, Fighting Desire, how she just bothered me all the time because I was like moving up and she just stopped me. And then when she left, I finally got became the star, and then she came back and I'm like, no. And then how we've all fought, and then how he was winning and everybody was on his case, and how he turned, and how then we fought. It was just, there's no words. It was just so great. I hope the fans appreciate it as much as we appreciated like doing it for them, because it was like for us, but it was for them too. It was just for the company. Again, the company was like the underdog coming up. It was like WWE versus TNA, and we were making our strides too. It was so great. It was such great times. I don't know if it could ever be like that again. I don't know.
We did have the WWE versus TNA very briefly, Monday Night Wars in 2010, but I think the 2004 era, where it's the little engine that could, it's like, all right, here's pay-per-views. We're slowly going to make our way to TV. The year later in 2005, it's like, you know what? We're here and we're not going away. And here's TNA 2022. It's 20 years later and we're still in business.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm like shocked. And, I got to go back for like just, the pay-per-view short sit and see how everything was. But they were in such a transition at that point too. So now where are they? What are they on TV? See, that's the only thing. I'm not fully following everything, and I just see spurts of it because it's hard for me to watch because I want to be there. So when I'm like, I can't just sit there. I was never an observer, so just sit there and watch. So I don't watch as much. I see flashes of AEW and then of WWE, of course, because it's great that wrestling is all over TV. But where is TNA? Where are they on TV?
So if you have Spectrum and Access TV, it's channel 88. If you have some access, it's good. It's on every Thursday night from 8 to 10 p.m. They have a lot of great talents. I'm going to say right now, the virtuoso Deonna Purrazzo, who's an amazing talent there, Purrazzo and Trinity. I got to say, she was doing the gimmick where she was going against Jazz and Mickey James. If you ever need a veteran for Deonna Purrazzo, we get some Trinity up in there.
There you go. I always love it. You guys have more knowledge, the interviewers, and what you're doing. And you guys should really be on the writing staff.
Well, it's the most simplest of formulas. You put a star on the up and up, and you know what I'm saying? She was in WWE. Now she's doing her thing in Impact Wrestling, really getting more of a shine. And what a better way to do it than go against a veteran? I mean, it's simple and simplistic, and it also passes the torch, and it makes for a great rivalry.
Yeah, and how do you just not bring people back? It's just always such a shocker and a surprise. Like, just throw. So even if it's like, if it doesn't, the people not all the new people know it, it's still going to be like a shocker. They don't make people think and look it up, or like, the other people that do know it. It just brings a talk about, how do you not bring back somebody? Even if you don't want it, it's controversial in a way anyway. Just do it.
Right. I mean, they brought back Taylor Wilde, who was a big thing in 2008 when she debuted, and she's an OG as well from the Knockouts division at that time. But I mean, I look at it from a stance with you, and I'm going to say right now, you're like a wine. You only get better with time. You're like a fine wine. You still look great. You look absolutely fabulous.
Great. I'm always ready. I'm always ring ready and, jump out of a building, get hit by a car, set on fire ready. I'm like a stunt woman through it. I mean, that's, thank God, for that, because that's always been my background, even before wrestling. I was like a veteran into the stunt world before I even got into wrestling. So, I'm just physically fit and athletic and ready. Oh, always on point. Because stunts, like, same, it's almost similar to wrestling. You never know what you're going to be doing. You could be like getting hit by a car, getting set on fire for the day. You have to fall and get beat up, get, blown up. So, same with wrestling. You never know what kind of match, like, oh, you want to jump off of a cage today. You want to go do a stretcher match. So always got to be ready.
Oh, of course. And I look at it from a stance too, with your career and your time period. Now you're in TNA until 2005, and then 2006 you're in WWE. I think it's a crime that we never got you versus Lita in the Battle of the Moonsaults, or you and Victoria, who wrestled in TNA as Tara. It's a crime we never got those matches.
I know, it's a shame we were always like passing in the whip, because like when I got there, she was leaving. And then, it was. And that's always a testament to me too. I feel like I was always before I got in that before all this, the work girls are happening, then I got to WWE where they were like in a big transition. So it's like my curse and my gift at the same time. Like I'm always missing. Yeah. Because I wanted to wrestle Trish and Lita and Jad. Those were like all my favorites. And then, and Victoria, and then she went down. And then like when I was there, we didn't get to work, but I was supposed to work China at one point in my life, but I said I definitely had great moments. I know I had to work the guys because there was, they weren't bringing in those women. And then when I left, all the women were there, but whatever, it all worked out. But yes, there are some dream matches on the cards for sure.
It's funny. I have to talk about a TNA moment here because they did something similar after you left with Christy Hemme, who was the original Diva Search winner in WWE. So Christy Hemme comes into TNA. One of her first roles is she wants to have women's wrestling be put at the forefront. She wants women's wrestling and women's wrestlers to be respected. They do the angle with VKM, the Voodoo Kin Mafia, which is BG James and Kip James, Road Dogg and Billy Gunn. And they have her bring in teams like the Heartthrobs, which you know very well, you and Talia Madison, a.k.a. Velvet Sky, being in the crowd for the Heartthrobs entrance. And they brought in the Basham Brothers. And I'm like, we kind of saw this already in 2004 with you because you were like, I want to scrap, I want to get in there. And this is just like, oh, respect women's wrestling. The guy's going to disrespect women. Let's have them punished by making them wrestle teams. It's like it didn't have that same energy that you did when you were just ready to pounce. I'll be honest with you. You're like Talladega Nights. You were ready to come at him like a spider monkey. You were Texas Ranger.
Yeah, that spider monkey for sure. We're two different people too. So, but yes. I think, that was a very unique storyline. It wasn't something they did like every few years, like they do in wrestling. So, I don't even think that they always want to do that. So, they probably tried it, but
well, it's a different time now in 2022 than we were in 2004. I mean, what we see in WWE, there's a lot of mixed match challenges. And I'll be honest with you, when we're going to talk about this, some of the stuff that was in this promo before this match, some of this stuff, if we were to say it now, it wouldn't fly today. But still, it's stuff like that you're on the edge,
Yeah. That's what I said. I don't know if you could ever redo that. Obviously there's things that work and they redo it over and over. But yeah, I feel, from what I saw before me and what I saw a little as it was just something so unique in that time. And I don't think, a lot of that will ever be replicated. And that's a good, that's a great thing. It's a great thing.
Absolutely. And I think besides your real and authenticity that we're going to talk about here, I got to say, you had the style, man, the black leather pants, you had the NYC knockout shirt with the Italian flag on it. You always had the style. And I said this in our last interview, still one of my favorite photo shoots is the caution tape, man. It's one of those photos. It's never going to go away because when I think of you, besides your wrestling, I think of, okay, here's this authenticity. She's got the clothes. She's got the style. She's got the Italian. She's repping with the flag. And then we go to WWE and here you are with the caution tape. And I'm like, all right, because nobody was doing that. Don't forget.
And you know what? That is like, and I am the original. Nobody did caution tape before me ever. That was like so original. And I know so many other people have done it in all different venues of life. And I'm like, I never saw it before me. And I had to, it really I did that even way before wrestling. I did that. My girlfriend came up with that. We were just in a photo shoot before I even got into TNA that I was taking pictures for. And then I wound up using so many of those pictures, when I got into TNA. And it was just something we were like so gritty and raw. It was like chains and smoke. And we're in a warehouse and like caution. But how it culminated in WWE was like, I was not this little model type bikini coming out for, a hot body contest. I'm like, no way. And going against Kelly, she was like a Barbie doll. I'm like this young little girl with her little G-strings. I'm like, there's no way I could compete with that doing, and there was no way. I'm like, I was a wrestler. I'm like, I'm not putting on a bathing suit. I don't wear bathing suits. I'm wrestling. I'm not in Cancun going in the pool. I'm not putting on a bathing suit. So it was literally like, I need shock. I need shock value right now. I need something like very unique and that's going to get over like without having to put on a bathing suit. And I was like, what I'm comfortable in is my boots and my fishnets and my booty shorts, but I'm like, obviously I need something. And that was when caution tape came back into my memory. And I'm like, And that is how I feel. Caution, like watch out for me, because I'm coming at you live no matter what it is. Body contest, wrestling, girls, guys. And it really was. And I even had great things that we could do for magazine shoots, for a gimmick. Like it was going to be caution all the way. Like right when I'm going to do my finisher, I'm going to lay down caution tape. And there were so many things that could go with this. I'm like, I should be part writer too.
Like the fact that we never got that, and we never got to see. Now, for me, your tenure in WWE was mostly all right. She's the valet of the FBI, and I'm going to say this. I got to see you live once, and it was very awesome because I remember I was there. I believe it was at the Coliseum, and it was the FBI. You were in their corner against the Hardy Boys when they first came back as the team in 2006. When Team Extreme had returned, I remember seeing that match with you guys and the Hardys, and I'm like, this is not bad. And I was happy to see you because, like I said, the TNA days. But god dang, man, here you are. It's ECW. It's on Sci-Fi, and you're in the Hardys.
Yeah, I definitely got to do cool stuff, but I always want to do more. I always wanted to be like, wait, do I get to wrestle? Do I get to fight? Do I get to get involved? So like as great it was to be at WWE, I feel like I was like had to like scratch and claw and find my way, and it never really culminated. But so that was so different than TNA, even though WWE is the big time. But there, it's like I kind of, even though I was always scratching and clawing my way up there, but I kind of knew my place and my role there. Where here it was like, and they even said that they're like, it'd be a small fish in a big pond. Here, you're a big fish in a small pond. I'm like, yeah, I know. But
You're also at a stance too as well, where a lot of the girls like yourself are featured mainly on the house shows, and a lot of the girls didn't get a chance to wrestle. And I'm going to say this right now: when Kelly with that gimmick, she was the exhibitionist, which is so funny if you actually think about it. Years later, she's the exhibitionist, and Mike Knox is the jealous boyfriend who doesn't want his girlfriend to take her clothes off in front of people. And you look at it now, and it's like, wait a minute, isn't that like a baby face? Why would he want his girlfriend to take her clothes off in front of the people? It was kind of ass backwards, but at the same time, okay, there's Kelly, right?
yeah, it was very, and it wasn't even, I don't know. Sometimes they don't, the writers don't get it right, but they try, I guess, they want to push you, they want to push. And that is how it works. Unfortunately, it's like, they want to push when they want to push too. Yes, you could like, push harder and be a standout, but it's like, still they have agendas. So.
Hey, that's unfortunately the way the wrestling business works. And I'll say this, welcome to the wrestling business. That's really what it is.
Because I'm like, are you kidding me? You couldn't think of like a million things to do. I mean, I could think of a million things to do because
the caution tape would have worked. You could have the proceed with caution as your finisher, the PWC, the proceed with caution.
Right. I even had like, even in a magazine shoot, I'm like, how like you see a great scene of a neighborhood and it's so serene and calm, and then all of a sudden there's like, I walk through it and there's destruction. And I walk through the caution tape and it's like on me, and you just see the next page is like all, broken streets. And I'm like, there's just so cool things to do. Like, here I come. Caution.
Just put in the Law and Order. Just put in the Law and Order theme, the criminal intent, show the caution tape. Somebody's dead. That's it. You know what I'm saying?
You're going down. Caution. Watch out.
Yep.
I even had like a karma and good karma, bad karma. Don't mess with me. There was like, I had just so many great ideas because there's so much I could do. I was like a stunt background. I know. Oh, even when I got to TNA, when I first moved to TNA, I'm like, I ride horses, I ride motorcycles. I'm like, we can ride my horse in one day, we can ride the motorcycle. I just always wanted to. I'm such a little, like, it's like being a kid in a candy store. It's like, or an amusement park. It's like my play field. I just want to do everything and have fun. And so, when you set a cage up, that was like, oh, this is a jungle gym. I get to jump off it, right?
Man, if you were a wrestler in the 90s and you were hitting the lucha libre scene in Mexico, you would be great with everything. You just jumping off everything. You'd be great.
Swing it, and then with my stunt background, like, why can't we can make trapeze? We do there's so many rigging that you can do. Which I like attempted to do some of that. I'm like, yeah, you can. I mean, there's a lot of stunts in wrestling. People always jumping off of stuff and doing stuff, and there is a stunt coordinator on set. That should maybe be my next role. Stunts for the show. Hey,
man, do a stunt coordinator, be a coach, teach a lot of these young ladies, give that knowledge, that insight, man. It works. It works.
So much fun. It's just such a great, they are great, industries and things that could do, because it's this like fun that could be had. I mean, it is a job, but it's like, they always said, if you love what you're doing, it's never a job.
And you sure did love what you were doing. And you did sure love to do this with Jacqueline, because we're going to talk about this here now. So I wrote some notes. I rewatched the match last night. Folks, it's 2 minutes. It's simple and simplistic. It's safe and spectacular. And it's one of those things where I'm going to say right now, one of the highlights, because we go to the video package. Here's Mike Tenay and Don West. Now, first of all, in this video package, you were legit at commentary with the headset on, and you're just like, Mike, just give me the fucking headset. And you're just like, and you put it on, and you're just like, I'm going to make the offer for any woman anywhere to challenge Trinity. I dare you. 11-7 Victory Road. That's my address. And I'm like, you have me sold already, because when people do promos, it's always like, on this date, the pay-per-view I'm coming for. You're just like, 11-7 Victory. That's my address. You don't need to say anything else. That right there.
Oh, thank you. You know what? I'm actually so glad that when you hear that, like, what you did was loved and appreciated, and like you got it, because right, I wasn't the greatest promo person, because I'm not, again, I'm real, I'm just telling it like it is. The way I talk is the way I talk, and the way I act, I'm not sitting there rehearsing, and yes, I want to get my words right, because sometimes I'm like so passionate and crazy, I'm like blah blah blah. But yeah, so I thought that, yeah, that's anyone right here right now, they're right.
Okay. Now, as someone, again, as a fellow Long Islander, and as a grandmother, God rest his soul, who was a Nobly Don from Sheepshead Bay, Brooklyn, New York, I appreciated that very much. I did. I had a smile on my face when I was watching at 12, and at 29, I'm smiling even more, because it was just, it's the little things. It's the nuances, Trinity. It's the nuances.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
And they were seen, because sometimes I don't even know what I'm doing it, because like you said, it's just me.
Oh man. And then you follow up with, I could probably beat up half these guys, and then you're like, Trinity in ring. You like called yourself just going in the ring, and here you are, batshit crazy in the gauntlet. Here comes Don Harris just pulling you out. And
oh, great. I did. I had like every single moment of those things, like Don pulling me out, fighting with them. I loved every single person I got to work with in every little way. Like those guys were great. Mike and Don West, Richard, like every little, all that great talent that I got to just like, even if they touched my leg and pulled me out of it, it was just such great moments that every single one of them, I was so honored and privileged and thankful and enjoyed. And when you bring them up like something like that, so little, I'm like, oh my God, I remember that when he's pulling me out and telling me to get out. That was so much fun.
Well, the best comes now, because I'm going to do my best Vince Russo impression now, because he was the director of Authority at the time. So he gets on the mic, he goes, bro, I hear you loud and clear. You want a match at Victory Road? You got it. But I'm going to tell you, you're not going to like who your opponent is. And then you have that face where it's like.
Exactly. Like, oh, funny. I remember every moment. I swear, like, it's so funny. Like, I don't think about it, but when I don't do a lot of these interviews, but when I do them and you guys are so knowledgeable and you bring up these moments, I am like gleaming, and I remember everything as if it was yesterday. And oh my God, my face will hurt after this. I'm smiling so much. I remember I had the pigtail. I was like a little punky
Brewster, a punky Brewster.
I'm like, yeah, I'm a punk ass. I am. I'm so like, the gimmick was just so great. And it was real. Like, and I wore those because that gives me like the attitude, like, yeah. Blah, blah. And when he was talking to me, I'm like, so true.
I think
that because it's true. Like, oh, I'm not gonna like it, and I remember it. Oh, what a great honor to it! Like, I was so excited about that match. Like, wow, yes, I'm on pay-per-view wrestling her. It's the greatest.
So, as a New Yorker, I can say this because what made it great, it's like he's saying, "Bro, you want a match at Victory Road?" And here you are, just like, "Yeah, I want a match at Victory Road." And then he's like, "You got it," and you're just like. And then that the facial expression does say it all. I think that's what also made that moment.
Again, and the cameras, they like know where to be because you have to be at certain places quickly because it's so real. Like him and I talking to each other. I mean, he's the veteran, so he knows what he's doing. But yeah, I'm like a little green girl here, and thank God I'm working with these talents that definitely helped me along so much because they were so like Vince Russo was great to work with. He took me under his wing. He was awesome. Another honor and privilege. Oh my God. Like I literally, when I think back, I mean, I knew when I was there how like lucky and fortunate and how big these people were that came around me. And, but I'm also trying to do what I do and make my way and be try to be the best that I could be. So, you know, you're so caught up in that. But believe me, every moment that these superstars are around me, I'm like, wow, what? I was like a sponge. Like, yeah, tell me everything. I want to learn. I want to know.
And that's the thing too, because with Vince Russo, and I know a lot of people say what they say about Vince Russo, but you cannot deny the fact that when it comes to creative and the innovation being a pivotal role, not just in the Attitude Era, but with TNA and what he did from creative, he's a name that is to be respected because he did put in the work.
Forever, yeah. Still to this day, right? He still has a podcast, right? Does it? I got to go talk to him one day again.
Hey, Vinny Roo, if you need a guest for the brand, man, Vinny Roo, Trinity.
Yeah, we did try to hook up somewhere along the line, and it didn't work out because you know, whatever, you know, life gets in the way, busy. But yes, we will revisit that for sure.
And that's
And now the whole storyline's running through my head. So I'll be like all week, a month, I'll be thinking of all this until it finally is like, okay, back to reality.
Hey, it's the thing. We get to have these times and moments, and we create more memories and moments as we do in this thing that we call life. And then we get to the pay-per-view. All right. And the promo beforehand is great because Swinger gets on the mic and he's like, up in New York, we call somebody out, somebody comes out. Then Glenn takes the mic. People show up no matter what, even if they're coming out of the closet. And I'm like, again, and then you take the mic, and then here comes the promo. You know, it's no surprise to me, just as I suspected, a no-show, you know? I think everyone had a prior obligation, a manicure, a pedicure, or they fear the NYC knockout Trinity. Well, I guess it's unquestionable, without a doubt, that Trinity is the undisputed Italian goddess of wrestling. So paparazzis, get your cameras, here comes the beauty shot. And they lift you up. Jacqueline's music hits. And we got to talk about this. She legit, like, hair rip you down, and you took a hell of a bump. My God.
Yeah, we were both, you know, we I think were very, you know, very, you know, not finesse. We were brutes. We were like, so it was like, yeah, bring it. Cause, you know, I know who you are. You know, I like respect and love this. I've been waiting for like to wrestle a veteran, you know, these veterans that I respect and look up to and want to have dream match with. So I think she was like my first that I really got to. And I'm like, yes, please just beat me up. Do what you got. So that, you know, it's only makes for a great match for the fans. And like, again, I'm stunned. So I like it a little more real, to be honest.
Well, that's you have to be. And I think like we were talking about the real and authenticity, like that has made up Jacqueline's career when she was Miss Texas in the territory days, her run in the WWE. And now here she is. And here's what's interesting about it. Like, you're doing this character of, you know what, I want to go, I'll fight the men, I don't care. She is always known for fighting the men. And at this particular time before she came in, she was facing Chavo Guerrero. And the storyline was Chavo got beat by a girl and she beats him for the cruiserweight title. They have their feud. And now here you are wanting to beat up all the men. And here comes Jacqueline ready to put you in your place.
Yeah, like, don't do my thing.
And the match itself, like we mentioned, it is 2 minutes, but it is the most simple and simplistic of 2 minutes. It's pretty much she rips you down. Jacqueline gives a Hurricane Rana to Gilberti and Swinger. She takes you to the outside. She does the crossbody. Back in the ring we are. Here we go. You're trading shots. You're trading holds. You hit her with a badass roundhouse kick and a power slam. That was sweet, which was very nice. Then she Germans you and you get folded like an accordion. And then Glenn comes in, gets involved. She hits Glenn, hits Swinger with the hot shot, fall from grace 1, 2, 3. Couldn't have written any better.
Yeah. And you know, it had to, I think though it actually got like cut down somewhere in the middle. Like we got the word that it had to be a little shorter somewhere, you know. I feel like that was a memory because I feel like we had a little more and like I guess time ran out because you know those guys could talk. So I think that we had to like take it home somewhere in the middle. So we had probably a little more, but it, like again, sure, it's all good. And it, you know, it was this pay-per-view, like a lot of people had to go, and we are the women, but it was awesome. That's like all I could say. Yes. Do you want more? Do you want to do it again all the time? Yeah, but what an honor and so much fun and awesome. And you know, and we had the team. Everybody had to get involved, and we had like the funny gimmick too that had to be portrayed. And they were always in my head. They were changing my character, making me a little more, you know, conceited and like I have to be, you know, because you know me, I would have just been like, like, oh, I'm the queen of wrestling. So it was our that gimmick that built up to that, which was great because it made us more like, oh, get rid of that, you know.
That's what it was. It's like, all right, you're all equal in the NYC, but at this time, it's just like, you know what? I don't need you guys to talk for me. I'm going to do me. I'm good. Miss Undisputed Italian Goddess of Professional Wrestling over here. Huh? So I mean, like, but how it had it to be. You know what I'm saying? But it's like at the time when they were doing the Dudley Boys, and like Spike is like, no, I'm the boss. I don't care. I'm 150 pounds. I'm going to tell Big Bubba Ray and Devon what it is because, you know, I'm the boss. I'm Spike. You know what I'm saying? So that we get that a lot.
So I say I love how it always, like, you know, how it's all gets created and how it all comes about. And then how, you know, that's a great storylines, which are, again, so real. It's like, I'm who I am, but then these guys come in and they're like, you know, you got to be a little different. And it makes for great. And then somebody telling you, oh yeah, put you in your place. It makes for great storylines, a great matches. That's why I said it was always a touch of real, very real and authentic, but then them, you know, seeing that and writing it and making it work so great. And that's why I said back then, everything was so great. You know, I only know how to be pretty much real. So, but then you work with who's with you. And I said, those are times like those storylines, the gimmicks, the everything, the company, it was just so great. I don't know, like, again, I don't know if you could ever just do that again, make it happen.
I mean, and just going back to time constraints for a second, because that does happen. You think you're going to have like a 10-minute match and that's like 5. And like you said, we mentioned 2 minutes. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, because nowadays with wrestling, everybody is spot. It's like you're watching a human video game in general because everybody wants to get their stuff in. And I'm like, you know what? Just the most simplistic of stuff, like we mentioned, works. You don't always have to go 100 miles an hour.
I remember a time with me and Desire, we're both kind of green. And we're in different locker rooms. Remember when sex was, and we were so we didn't get to like really, you know, we're going over stuff, blah blah blah. You don't want to know that stuff. But now we're separated, and now we get in the ring, and we get more time. Now we're like, you're like, you give veterans more time. They gave us more time. They're like, you got to stretch it. I think we got like 15 more. That's like an eternity for these 2 women that aren't the greatest of wrestlers at the time. And that was like a big reversal thing. It was great. And our teammates were great. The ref was, you know, there was so much going on, but I laughed because it's like usually you get time cut. I'm like, there was a moment where we got time added and it was like, wow. And you know,
stretch it.
Yeah, you know, the last minute. And then we're also not in like same locker room. So there's like no, you know, going over anything. It was great. That was like a reverse of that, but so it wasn't short and simple, but I just always remember that too, those moments. But we had so much animosity. Like we had such a good feud that it worked. Oh God, you're making me love. I want every time, like I want to like go back tomorrow. Hello, TNM. I'm knocking your door down. Like, where are you?
Hey, I mean, I look at it from a stance of, first of all, who doesn't know sex? We're talking about sports entertainment extreme here. But that's the thing. And people talk about it like, oh, it's ridiculous. Sports entertainment extreme. You don't think of that. Like, it's funny.
Okay? I know, it's great.
And people, like I said, people need to have a sense of humor, but at the same time, it's like, all right, sports entertainment extreme. And besides, he sold that well. I got to give Vince Russo credit. With
I thought it was great. I don't care. I don't know how that like really went over to everybody, but I loved it. I thought it was great. It was great. Even for our, you know, the mentality of the locker room, like we felt it. You know, we were like now separated, and we were like, and we felt it. We felt the division. We felt the separation. We felt the feuds and the. You know, like it felt real to us because it was like kind of the way they did it. It was great. I think everything, I don't know. Like I said, I wasn't obviously around forever, but just being there, I thought it was some just great wrestling, great times, great storylines, great everything. It was awesome.
Hey, I look at it from a stance too now. Like we talk about some of the knockouts, new and veterans out of there. I mean, Mickey James is there now, the knockouts champ. Hey, you and Mickey James, you know what I'm saying? There's 2 veterans, 2 clashes right there, huh?
Our feud back then was too real. They didn't really weren't do it anymore because it was.
I'm saying, rekindle that magic.
Yeah, she didn't like that I was being put over, so she didn't want to do anything. She didn't really like me, so she really was fighting. I'm like, well, you know, here you go. I go, you're really pulling my hair and hitting me. I'm like, I'm next. So they always said though that doesn't always come off good when you're really fighting in the ring. You can't really be. So it has to be a little bit of a show.
Okay.
But
Well, Trinity, I will say this again, as a fellow New Yorker, I get it. Folks, this again, I as a Long Islander, I get it. You know what I'm saying? I grew up East Islip, New York. I grew up, it's the suburbs, Boomer Esiason went to East Islip High School. It's the New York. I get it. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes to other people, it's just like, I'm like, well, if you New York, yeah.
You get it.
I get it. And that's the thing. And people are just like, it's one of those things like when people see like art imitating life, it's like, but that's how they are. You know what I'm saying? That's what makes people unique. And that really transcends into the wrestling.
Yes. And that's why I think it was so good, because it was like a lot, like, I don't know if it was everybody, but like a lot, all my stuff was almost very like running parallel to life and the universe. And it was really authentic.
Hey, you would do well in NXT right now. So there's a character, for those who haven't seen NXT 2.0, it's Tony D'Angelo. He's talking about the family. You don't mess with the family. He actually whacked one of the guys, Pete Dunne, with a pipe. You know what I'm saying? You break in, you get the digits. So I got to say, if you were in WWE now, you and Tony D'Angelo would have a nice little mix. Paisan. A bunch of Stu Nods up in there. A bunch of Stu Nods.
Yeah, you have to like watch it and see where everything's going.
It's good. I mean, and people will crap on it because it like reminds them of them. I'm like, Tony D'Angelo, it's the Stu. And me, again, growing up in the Italian household, Stu Nods and all this stuff. Crazy, huh? So, I mean, it works. And it goes very well with the character. And that's the most important thing, getting the character over. It's not just the wrestling. The character goes a long way, too.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I do. When you mention things, I'm like, I know there's so many storylines I could fit in. I should be there, but I don't know.
You really need to realize this, and I say this with the utmost respect and sincerity and love to you. You did a lot of great work in wrestling. You are an OG knockout, and you're an OG. You should be very proud of yourself.
Thank you so much. That's so nice and wonderful to hear. And like I said, when you're doing it, you're like, I loved, I don't think I do anything without like loving it and giving it my 1,000% in life. Even if I had to sweep a floor, it's like I take pride in everything I'm doing. But so being so like new to that, it was like there was so much respect, and then so much pride, and I wanted to be great, and I loved what I was doing. So for it to translate to anybody, that was really is like wow, because I didn't always have time to look at, because I'm thrown into like the wolves den, and I have to like worry about how new wrestlers, it's like you didn't earn your way. What was the thing they always said to us? Oh, you didn't pay your dues, so it was like, so you had your mind on everything, and you couldn't get always caught up. But the fans are the best. I love the fans, because like they make you and break you, because there's so much other stuff going on, and so it's so great. Like I still have some very loyal fans to this day that I'm like, wow, I just can't believe it, because now it's been a long time. So when they come along, or they know or remember or say stuff, I'm like, wow, because I still feel that way. Like it's in my heart and soul and will be remembered forever. So the fact that there are people that still do, it's awesome.
Well, that's the thing, too. And I'm going to say this right now. As a 12-year-old and now as a 29-year-old, I mean, for me, looking back at those memories and seeing people like yourself, interviewing them, watching them grow up, it's a blessing and it's a privilege for myself. But I got to say, man, it's one of those things where it's just like, I think you just had a birthday not too long ago, right? It was before the holidays, right?
Yep. I'm a December baby. Yeah. First and
foremost, that's a Merry Christmas right there. And, God gave us the world of Stephanie Finoche, aka Trinity, huh? It's a holiday, you're a present right in your own right, huh? But no, I mean, and I think with what you've done in professional wrestling and just in general, here, I'm going to actually point this out. Another note I made. Look at the entrance from Victory 2004. You're coming out, you're all serious, I'm this bad bitch, but then you stop and you do you're like, yeah, I'm a fucking goddess, and then I go right into the ring. Excuse my language, but that's what it was. It's like, I'm a badass, but look at me, I'm still hot, and I'm going to go kick ass. Right there.
Yeah, because it was like, this is like entrances are awesome. It's like just watch everyone. You always like watch everyone's entrances are fun and they're awesome. And it's like, but wait, we got something to do in the ring. But it's so much like I wanted pyro. I was so excited when I finally got pyro. Because I'm a pyro. I'm a little firecracker. I need firecrackers. Plus, I do pyro like on the side too. Like I used to do stunts and pyro, and I'm like, I need fireworks. I need pyro. It's like the best thing to have a boom when you come in.
First and foremost, what can't you do, man? You were talking about rollerblading and wrestling.
I'm trying to think of one thing I can't do. I used to make a joke and I go, I don't know how to play highlight because I never did it, but just only because I never did it.
Understood. Okay. Well, okay, a little pyro. So pretty much what you're saying, I'm going to make a pop culture reference. You're like Katy Perry. You're a firework, is what you're saying, huh? You're like a firework. You're like Katy Perry with your pyro, huh?
Like an M80, but
All right. Still, but still you're in there.
I'm the bomb.
The bomb. All right. Well,
Firework, not too small. That was probably when I was 3. No, but I think I was even more of a terror. It was probably like a mat, you know, when you set off a mat, they just kept going forever.
so pretty much what you're saying is you're like the old saying of you're the bomb.com, at the bomb.com. That's what you're saying. It's old swag. Yeah. Bomb diggity. Yes. Okay.
I don't think like, you know, I don't want to be already instead of saying that is. So I'm always trying to like create a different way.
I'll put it right now, and I'm going to say this. I don't think anybody say this, so I'll say this to you, Trinity. When it comes to this match and just in general, the overall presentation, your swag was on 100. Swag was on 100%. You had the swag with you.
Thank you.
Swag.
I think because, you know, and again, I can't just, I'm not a good actress. I can't just fake that. And when it's there because of all the planets aligning and like how the, you know, the writing and the people and how the feeling and how it really is, that it's just real. Like I can't, you know, when I'm being the punk in the pigtails, that's real. When I'm being I think my shit don't, you know, I think I'm awesome. It's like, it's those moments I feel that way. And that's why I love wrestling. I love, you know, because, you know, like I'm a stunt woman through and through for over 25 years now, I think. But, you know, you're always like behind the scenes and like hidden and, you know, don't look at the camera and you're wearing wigs and you're always someone else making someone else look good. Yes, we do us sometimes. And it's funny when I got into wrestling, it was like, I'm so used to not looking at the camera. And they're like, you know, you got to look at the camera. You got to give your beauty shot. You got to do your pose or whatever. I'm like, I got to be a poser now. And I am such a poser in my heart and soul. Like I love, you know, being, you know, just like plain dress up, but really being the part, you know, but I think if I say I'm faking it, then I don't have to be uncomfortable. Like, is this really me? Or I think this is who I am, you know? So when I finally said, yeah, wrestling, you just get to be all these feelings whenever you feel them and all these, you know, personalities whenever you feel them. That's what's so great about it. You know?
Agreed. And I look at it from a stance too. I'm going to be blunt with you when it comes to all this, because we've said a lot of words that really, you know, encompasses you and your character. You were Buck Wild. You were truly, you were Buck Wild. Like that, like not even just straight up Buck Wild, Buck Wild. That was you. You were really Buck Wild.
Yeah, because there was a, you know, just slowing me down and taming me and like making me this, you know, it's like, yeah, okay, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll do that. All right, I'm coming out. And it's like, just running, you know, you knew that the end result was I'm running into the ring to fight and be crazy. And you don't have to worry what you do there.
Oh my God. You know what it is too? It's always when they say when it's the stature and it's the height of like some of the small girls, they're very squirrely, they're very scrappy, and it's what it is. Like I said, I don't even feel like a 5'7" or 8 who's like played basketball. It's the little ones that you got to worry about. That's what you got to worry about, man. It's the run of the litter.
When you would say like you're a wrestler, you look too small, I'm like, don't ever let size deceive you. Really, the big ones, they just like they could just go down like a tree. You know, they're not like they can't like run around and be crazy. Yeah, small isn't a disadvantage, but an advantage in many ways.
And it actually kind of coincides in today because Alexa Bliss, who is very popular on WWE television, one of her early gimmicks when she was on the main roster, she was 5 feet of fury. It's like, yeah, I'm small, but I'm athletic. I've got that background. And she's like 5 feet of fury. And it works because she's talented.
Look at Rey Mysterio. Come on.
Mm-hmm. And he's still killing it today. Him and his son are wrestling together in WWE. And it's awesome.
That's right. You can't.
Oh, that's the thing too. Also at that time too, Rey Mysterio was very big in the cruiserweight division, and he had just come up the rankings in WWE 2 years in, and then here you are. Now I'm going to ask you because it really, I got to ask you this question because we were talking about everything in general, the original knockouts and stuff, but the word homegrown goes into a lot because with any wrestling promotion, there's the veterans, there's the upstarts, and then who's become homegrown talent. And you, I consider when it comes to TNA and its legacy, homegrown talent. Like, how does that feel, man? You're the homegrown right here. One of the ones that really put the company on the map for women in general, because you're an inspiration to a lot of people.
Yeah, you know, I never ever look at myself that way, but you know, it's told to me enough that I should, and it's like, okay, I could start to like, you know, feel that and say, okay, yes, it is. So it is a great film because again, you know, I loved the company. I loved how they embraced me and gave me so many opportunities, and they it's like they gave me the world on a plate. Like, it's like, here, you get to work with this one and this one, this, you get to do this and this and this, and so it feels great. I'm like, that's why sometimes I'm like, wait a minute, how come you don't remember that you homegrown and made this great thing, and I was a part of it. So sometimes I get mad when they're like, don't say these were the OGs, and that but I mean, I think they did call me and want to bring me back. They did bring me back, so they do remember. But it really should be now I'm always saying, yeah, it should be a little more, because I'm like, when I feel what was going on and what that we were a part of, it was amazing. But there was so many people, so.
Well, also, I mean, you come back for Knockouts Knockdown, which again was the real big one night only pay-per-view that they had back in the day. I think you wrestled ODB, and I'm like, you didn't, again, like we talk about now, how again you're like a wine, you get better with time, but you still were killing it, and the amount of time that you got, like they say, make the most of your time. Like the match with ODB was superb.
Oh, thank you. That was bittersweet to me, because I didn't feel like, I guess because it was so quick in and out, and there was so much going on, and there was so many people from all over. So like that one didn't feel like the greatest to me, or I love ODB and I was glad to work with her, but it was you're just in, and as so much was going on, I didn't really get to feel that. It didn't feel great or authentic, and I don't even, it was like, just felt like it's like a blur. It was like an in and out. So I don't know how that came across, it was perceived, but I don't feel like it was something I really loved and was like excited about. I mean, I'm always excited to come back and be part of something and do something, but I don't even feel like, I'm like, who was I really, coming in at, it wasn't like my real character. I don't know. Like I said, it was bittersweet. I was like so happy and like awesome to be there, but I don't feel like it was like real and authentic, and got to be like Trinity and and do. So whatever, it is what it is. It was what it was, but
that's the thing too, because you could tell also with that match, first and foremost, the entrance of that match, you were smiling. It's just like, I'm happy to be here, and also it's the nostalgia pop. And I got to say,
I don't think I got to do my moonsault though.
I know, but you got the nostalgia pop, which is still good. I know you didn't get to do the moonsault, but hey, man, it's
because I don't feel like I should have like gave it up just for like 1 second. It's like, come on, bring me back. There's more, but what? And they were actually talking. There was like a couple of gimmicks that we ran by in the locker rooms, and I was excited. I thought something was going to come of it, but I guess whatever. They were like going through a lot of change there.
Yeah. I mean, the women around that time, you had Brooke Tessmacher, you had Gail Kim, you had so many people. I think Taryn Terrell was coming in. I mean, you could have had some great matches around that time. That Knockouts division was hot at that time.
Yeah, I don't even know. Like I said, the locker room was like a crazy. There was so many things going on, so many people, and it didn't even feel like TNA. Like, and I got it was funny because I'm like, I remember all this. This was like what we did every week, but it was like 10 times different. But there was remnants of us, of the old school there. But so, like I said, it was good to see everybody too. But everybody was running around. Everybody was different. So it was like, it was surreal, because it was like, this is like, I remember, and it's a remnants of the old times, but it's so new and all different people, and so different, so much more was going on. So it was like, wow. We were so small back then, you knew everybody always stopped to talk. It wasn't crazy busy going on, because we were there from like 10 o'clock in the morning, and it was like, you had time, but this was like a way bigger production, and it was, it wasn't personal, it was impersonal. So it was, like I said, again, great, but.
So to use a word here, and I think a lot of the Italians will understand this, including yourself, Miss Trinity, the locker room was very fakakted, if you will. It was very fakakted. So a lot of stuff was going around the time. So, the locker room was a little fakakted.
Use my words. I should use my words better. There you go. You got it.
Hey, okay. Again, as someone who grew up with a Namladonna, she would say, Sheep said, Bay, Brooklyn, New York. I know about fakakted. All right. It's what it was. It was fakakted.
Oh my God.
Man. Okay, so before we close this out, first and foremost, Trinity, it's always a pleasure and a privilege to interact with you. You're a lovely and beautiful person, and we definitely got to do this again. It really was a pleasure and privilege to have you on the show.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, always. I appreciate you, for sure. bringing up the greatest memories, and that is, it's someone you want to talk to. It's an honor that you want to talk to me. That's like wonderful. So
Hey.
thank
No, you're very welcome, and I like you. Well, first, besides the fact that I like you, you're one of the people that, again, most of the real brutally honest, and one of those people that's very likable. I'm going to say right now, you play that heel character. Really, you're a very likable human being. You really are.
Yeah, I really am the girl next door, which is funny. All this stuff that I've done, I'm really literally the girl next door. Like I'm so, I go ride my horse. I have my animals, and my regular life's kind of very normal. Not really, but yeah. Not really, but I literally am the girl next door, like all this stuff, and yet, you can knock on my door, and I'm the neighbor, and I'm a regular person.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you post a lot on social media with the horses, which I think is awesome because, I mean, how calm is it and how awesome is it just to go out and ride on a horse, enjoy the day,
That's what I said. That's my sanity. That's my major sanity in the world we live in today. So that's why there's so much of it, because you need a lot of sanity right now. So, and my horse, he's older, he's getting up there. So, I want to definitely spend a lot of time with him. My horse is he's 30, and we still ride, and he's still amazing. He's like me. We're not going to like grow old gracefully. We're never going to stop fighting. We're going to always be working and doing stuff. My animals have always been just like me, or you're like your animals, but my animals are all crazy. They're all fun. They're all exactly like me. My horse is not too.
You are a mix, my friend. You are variety. It's like on one end, you're like, I'm going to ride my horse. It's my sandy. On the other, you're going to bust heads of the Stunads. You know what I'm saying? You're going to bust the Stunads, and you're going to just sit on your horse and ride the horse. I like it. I like your style.
That's what I said. Me and my horse, we're both so calm, and we're older, but yet my horse is buck wild too. He's like, if I just feel like jumping and throwing you off in a second, I will. And I might fall off and roll the punch and get back on with you, and then we're going to have a rodeo. Exactly. So that's it. That's I am. The jack of all trades.
Well, before we do close this out as well, Trinity, I have to say, I mean, social media is a big platform. It's on for everybody. This is where I step back. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Where can everybody find you on the platform that is social media?
You can always find Action Trinity on every social media thing. So you can always find me. I do try to stay a little bit off of it. It's like getting away from that. I think the world does need a blackout. I know these are wonderful venues where we get to talk, but I think the world needs a blackout for a little while. They need to get back to like the world and nature and people, and not be so social media. But I'm always there still. Action Trinity, Stephanie Finocio, there, all those names, you can find me. All the different names.
First of all, I'm going to say this. I'm not going to go too much into this, but number one, I love you because you said that. And number two, it's very true, because while social media is a positive platform like we're doing here, and to promote our works and stuff and really get our names out there, people just going outside and just spending time with your family, putting the phone down and not doing social media, that's where it's at. And I'll say this, it really is. And I mean, and I'm going to say this right now with Twitter and everything, there's always these,
yeah,
so that's what I'm saying. It's so true.
Great. This is great when you do positive stuff with it and good stuff with it. So it's got its place in the world, but definitely got to also balance. Balance is always the key. Mind, body, soul, Trinity. That's what it is, everybody. And it's balance in life. Enjoy.
You got a great motto and you got a great attitude. And I'm going to say this before we close out, as I always say on this pod with a lot of my great female guests and just guests in general, and the uniqueness of people, beauty, strength, and dominance, 3 key elements that make women the work of art that they are. And Stephanie Finocio, Trinity, I include you in those sentiments. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful new year and have a great day, everybody. Thank you. Enjoy.